My roommate has been acting odd since I got back together with my boyfriend. I, 23 female, live with a roommate, 23 female. I will call her Annie. And a second roommate, 23 female. I will call her Becca. We moved to a new city and in together after we graduated college and had gotten extremely close throughout our senior year. So I started dating Jake, 23 male, right before we moved in, August 2024. Our relationship hit a rough patch early this year and we briefly broke up. He has since started getting treatment for mental health issues and we've been working through things and are back together. The night he broke up with me, we had all been drinking. He came over to my friend's house and broke up with me. Afterwards, Annie texted Jack begging him to come back to the house so that they could talk. She witnessed him breaking up with me. He basically told her no because he had thought she would yell at him. She's always been super protective of me. And he said some hurtful things to her in response to her not taking no for an answer. During the time we were apart, Anna and Becca both came to me and explained that they thought he had been controlling during our relationship. I started going back to therapy after the breakup and was very open with my therapist about our relationship and our conversations. My therapist and I decided that this was not a toxic relationship or one that I needed to leave. After lots of talking and working through the obstacles in our relationship, we got back together. Both Annie and Becca had told me that although they wished I wouldn't get back together with him because they think I deserve better, they would support me either way. He spent the night at our apartment and Becca was home, so I let her know he was coming over. The next day, Annie was very upset with me, and I did not know why. I went to her room to ask why, and she told me it was nothing and to leave her alone in a dismissive tone. For the next week, she would not look me in the eye or acknowledge my existence. After I tried to talk about it in person and was dismissed, I tried to give her space. I ended up texting her about it because I thought maybe it was too hard to talk about in person. She told me that she was extremely upset that I told Becca before I told her that we got back together. She also wanted space from me and said that I betrayed her and only talked to her when I needed her. We had been best friends for over a year at this point, and I shared a lot with her. She shared a lot with me, and I was there for her through a huge heartbreak and lots of cries. It hurt my feelings that she wrote our friendship off as me just taking advantage of her, when in reality, we both have always been there for each other and had a very meaningful friendship. She always said this to me and constantly thanked me for being the best friend she's ever had. I respected her wishes and gave her space. After about a month of not talking, I reached out again and asked her if she wanted me to move out. She told me I was crazy for even suggesting that and blamed me for not talking to her and ignoring her. I explained that I tried to give her the space that she asked for and was waiting for her to let me know when she was ready. The conversation ended on good terms, but there wasn't really a resolution. She promised me multiple times that the rift between us had nothing to do with Jack and was just about me being a bad friend. I apologized again and tried to fix it. He had also apologized to her by this point twice, and she forgave him and apologized to him as well. Over the last few months, I have been trying to talk to Annie while still giving her space. Every time I made an attempt, she would either dismiss me, mumble something under her breath, or some days she would be the sweetest, kindest friend that I had been missing. Her boyfriend stays with us often, so a lot of the conversations I had with her, he was also there for. He has always been nice to me and likewise. I started asking her to go on walks alone with me during my lunch breaks when I was working from home, and she always accepted. Every time I thought things were getting better, I would hear from someone else that she's been saying something negative about me or Jack. The final straw was when my old roommate came to visit, and Annie told her that I was in a controlling and toxic relationship, ruined all of my friendships for Anne, and was male-centered, only talked to her when her boyfriend was around, and that she wished that the two of them were friends instead of her and I. It has been very hard to hear those things from someone who used to know me better than anyone in the world. I know in my gut that I am not male-centered. Yes, I have a boyfriend, but I also have other friends, lots of hobbies, and constantly do things on my own without him. I also have talked to her plenty of times without her boyfriend there, and I have never been close with him other than simple small talk. I have tried to leave Becca out of all of this because I know she is in an uncomfortable position. I miss my friendship with her. She recently said the same thing and that she wants to talk about it, but I'm worried about trying to explain how I felt without making her feel like she needs to pick a side. I guess I'm just trying to find out if I'm overreacting for wanting to move out. I will have to break the lease and find a subleaser in a city that I can barely afford to live alone in, but I feel like it is my only option at this point. It has now been over 4 months of mostly silence, and her sometimes making me feel like it's close to being repaired, just to dismiss me the next day. Since I heard about the conversation she had with my old roommate, I just feel so lost, lonely, confused, and like maybe I made up this entire thing, or that maybe it's all my fault. Some days I feel like I'm going crazy, and others I feel like I tried my best and need to just give up on any hope of Annie and I being friends again. Any insight, opinions, or advice would be really, really appreciated. And comment 1 says, when does your lease end? It's also surprising to me that both of your close friends and roommates found your boyfriend toxic, but your therapist did not. Not saying either are wrong, but I guess I would look at what behaviors seem controlling and what he's done to change that since you got back together. I can understand how painful it must be for friends who witness you being hurt and are even hurt themselves. Your boyfriend texting mean things to Annie by someone and then have to watch you get back together with them. OP says my lease doesn't end until August 2026. It was controlling in ways of him wanting me to quit vaping because he was worried about my health, for example. I explained to him that although I understood where he was coming from, this was a bit controlling. He didn't get it right away, but after talking to his therapist about it, he apologized and said he overstepped. The reason my therapist doesn't see him as toxic, from my understanding, is because he is always able to take accountability for the things he did wrong, and he hasn't made the same mistake twice. I also have been putting myself in their shoes, and I know I would be very sad if either of them got back together with someone who I didn't think was good enough for them, which is why I asked multiple times if that was the issue, and was always met with a, no, he's never been the problem, I don't care if you're back together, which I think is a lie. Comment 2, Annie texted Jack begging him to come back to the house so they could talk. She witnessed him breaking up with me. He basically told her no because he thought she would yell at him. TBH, this really stood out to me. This is incredibly weird and controlling on behalf of Annie. The fact that she continues to act hot and cold and badmouth you is also ultimately on her too. Even if your boyfriend is bad news or whatever, and he sounds it, TBH again, behaving abusively as well isn't a healthy thing to do. I note also the dynamic where she seems on the verge of repair and then goes back to cold again. This is a very common toxic tactic. If she was just rude 24/7, you would have moved out very quickly. But by being occasionally kind, it got you questioning everything. You're not overreacting. The final straw absolutely is the final straw. And folks, that's the end of that story. My friend invited an extra person on our trip, but doesn't want to pay for her. Here's the story. Basically, my friend, let's call her Ashley, and I are going on a trip with 3 other people, Jess, Emily, and Sam. Ashley and I were discussing what the cost of splitting up prices was going to be like for the hotel. I booked our hotel, and since there's 5 of us going, I told her it's going to be split up into 5. So, Ashley says she's paying for her friend Jess and wants it to be split up into 4 because even though Jess is going, Ashley is the one paying for both, and her friend isn't paying her back for it. I personally don't think that's fair to me, Emily, or Sam. Ashley is choosing to pay for her friend's hotel part. The way I see it, splitting it into 4 only benefits Ashley and Jess. Jess because she doesn't have to pay a penny. Not me, Emily, or Sam because we'd be paying more than we should just because Ashley is paying for 2. But she's combining 2 into 1 because it's just her paying. If this is confusing at all, here's a mini breakdown of fake prices, but we've already done this, so. Okay, total of hotel, $100. 5 people equals 5 payments, $20 each. How Ashley wants to do it. 5 people equals 4 payments, $25 each. Because she's paying for 2 people, including herself, but she's only counting them as 1. The way she wants to do it, it makes it to where Sam, Emily, and I are also paying for Jess's part, not just Ashley. I'm pretty sure Ashley is upset with me because I told her that it needs to be split into 5 to make it fair for everyone else. And she's not really been talking to me, so am I the a-hole. And there are some relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, not the a-hole. What are the sleeping arrangements? Could hinge price on that. Who's on a bed, a couch, sharing a bed, etc. OP says, I believe it's 2 full-size beds and a sofa bed. Ashley and Jess would be sharing a bed because they're closest with each other. We haven't decided the rest of the sleeping arrangements yet, though, but 2 on the other bed and 1 on the sofa bed, most likely. Commenter 2 says, not the a-hole. To your logic, yes, Ashley should be paying $40 while the rest of you are at $20. I have to ask, though, is your friendship worth whatever the real additional amount you 3 would have to pay? She just paying for Jess for the hotel, or is all split cost items for the trip? OP says, I've talked to the others and they're not comfortable paying extra either. And they don't know Ashley very well. I'm not going to make them pay for someone they don't even know. Ashley did say it's just for the hotel that she's paying for Jess, but that might change in a couple of months when our trip actually takes place. Who knows? But my main focus right now is the hotel. OP has mentioned a few times in the comments about the prices listed. OP says, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but I said in the post that the prices I used in the post were fake prices. The hotel price was so much more expensive than the fake prices I used. It's not just $5. No one is comfortable paying the extra because Emily and Sam hardly know Jess. And we've all got our own stuff to pay for during this trip. This trip is expensive. It's not that I'm not willing to keep the peace, it's that I'm not willing to be scammed. First of all, I want to thank everyone who responded and for the tips. I made the post to make sure I was thinking correctly, even though I truly couldn't make sense into what Ashley wanted to do. But I mainly posted it because my friend wasn't talking to me, so I thought I might have been the a-hole. Putting out there that everyone going on the trip are young adults ranging from 18 to 22. Ashley and I are 21. I noticed a lot of people misunderstood my post, so I'm going to clarify a few things. Jess was going on this trip whether Ashley pays for her or if she pays for herself. She was always going to come and is an original member of the group that's going. I had just gotten the news that Ashley is deciding to pay for her share of the hotel, but Jess isn't paying Ashley back. So I think Ashley got confused because since there's only 4 people paying, she thought the bill should be split up into 4. But that's not how the bill should be split up. It should be split up by however many people are staying, not paying. Because Ashley is choosing to pay for Jess. She doesn't have to do that. The prices I used in my post were fake prices to make it simpler to explain. The actual cost of the hotel was way more than the examples I used. Something I forgot to mention is that Ashley and I have never had an issue splitting up bills before, so I thought this was extra weird of her to try and pull. We just never had this problem before. Also, a lot of you were saying this will be a continuous problem during the trip, like for food or anything else. But whenever we've been on trips before and ordering food or whatever, usually we order separate, so that shouldn't be a problem during the trip. Another thing I didn't mention in the original post was that the hotel room states it sleeps 6 people. There's 2 full-size beds. There's two full-size beds and a sofa bed. I don't know if this is really that important, but a lot of people were asking. Jess and Ashley would be sharing a bed, and most likely me and Emily will share a bed because Sam made it very clear that she wants the sofa bed, lol. But I do not think it should be split up by beds or sleeping arrangements because we're all sharing the same space. Also, something I didn't mention was Ashley said she was only paying for Jess's hotel part and that anything else was coming out of Jess's pocket. She's not paying for Jess's hotel part. Now for the actual update. I've talked to both Emily and Sam about it, and both agree it should be split 5 ways, and if one person wants to pay for another person, then they have to pay double. Neither of them are comfortable paying the extra because they don't know Jess very well, if at all. I also tried to explain to Ashley with examples like, if I'm paying for Sam and Emily, then it would be split up into 2, and you're paying more for just 2 people than I am for 3. And then explained to her that it just wouldn't be fair if I did that to her. I also emphasized that the way she wanted to do it makes it to where everyone is paying Jess's share, not just her. I was not going to back down until she got it. And she finally says that makes sense now, and she apologized. Whoa, she gets it, guys. She gets it. And I mean, I'm happy she finally understands how it's not fair to do it her way, but I'm still annoyed that I had to Uno reverse card her and use her logic against her to make her understand. It should have made sense from the very beginning, but it's whatever. I'm hoping this whole situation won't make this trip any awkward, but it's 2 months away, so hopefully everything will pass and we'll have a blast. If anything else crazy happens, I'll be sure to update you guys. Thanks for all the replies. And comment 1 says, splitting 4 ways means everyone's paying for the 5th person. Math really isn't that hard. Reply, but then Ashley doesn't get to claim she's the one paying for Jess. Reply, that's all I could think while reading this. OP should have just stated it's exactly like that. No, we're not splitting it 4 ways because then you're not paying for Jess. We are. And you are the only one who wants to pay for her, so you pay for her portion, which is split 5 ways. And comment 2 says the math was not mathing.